This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.
This episode contains discussions of drug-related deaths, including the tragic loss of a child. While we approach the topic with care and respect, it may be distressing for some listeners. If you or someone you know is struggling, resources like the SAMHSA National Helpline are available at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-HELP. Listener discretion is advised.
Today's episode isn't just about hacks. It's about how technology can go dangerously wrong when the wrong people exploit it. Social media platforms like Snapchat, well, they were designed to connect people and to get engagement. But what happens when they become a tool for something much darker?
To cut straight to the chase, what happens when drug dealers start using them to sell everything from weed to fentanyl to teens in an online space where the evidence is erased the minute it's sent to hidden crisis, and the consequences are devastating?
We'll be joined by Amy Neville, who tragically lost her son Alex to this crisis. She's turned her grief into a powerful fight for change, and today we'll hear her story and what needs to happen to protect others.
And with that, welcome to What the Hack, the true cybercrime podcast. I'm Adam Levin.
I'm Beau Friedlander.
And I'm Travis Taylor.
Amy Neville is here with us today. She's a mom, an advocate, and somebody who's turned unimaginable grief into a fight to protect others. Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
Amy, can you tell us a little bit about your son, Alex?
Sure. Overall, Alex was really a brilliant, intense child. He was very outgoing, very much an extrovert, loved video games, skateboarding, liked to try things that people thought he couldn't do, to show people wrong. And he was my chips and salsa buddy. He was the one person in my house that would eat chips and salsa with me. And so it's those little moments like that I really miss.
I didn't even know chips and salsa buddies existed, but I definitely, it sounds good.
So, Amy, you've said that Alex shared absolutely everything with you, right?
Yeah. He told us a lot, and we'd ask him a lot of questions too. We were very involved with our kiddo. We thought we had tabs on him. And there'd be times where he'd share with us and I would be like, oh, I can't believe he just told us that about his friend group. But along with that came the ability to have to listen to, or to know how to listen to him. And so we'd start a lot of conversations with, okay, am I listening to help you? Because of course, as a mom, I want to help problem solve, right? Or am I listening just to let you kind of get it out of your system? And most of the time it ended up being a little bit of both. But I think that kind of environment really worked for him and it made it really comfortable for him to tell us a lot of things that was going on in his life.
Yeah, as a parent, I have different ways of listening to what my children are saying. And one of them is as an sort of not participating in the conversation. In other words, like, I want to hear what's happening in between the lines. So was he that kind of kid, or did you feel like he was pretty open? Or did you have to sometimes say, what am I hearing here?
Sometimes I'd clarify. I'd have to rephrase it to make sure I was hearing him correctly. But with Alex, it was mostly listening. Whereas my daughter, totally different. I have to ask her lots of questions. She's very likes to share, but if I don't ask her the question, she's not going to tell me.
Amy, when Alex started using social media, how'd you feel about that?
I was indifferent about it. We were using social media in our home. My husband and I both were, not excessively, but just it was kind of a thing that was going on, right? And his friends were on it, and it seemed like it would be okay because we were monitoring his accounts, and we had set up rules around it where if you're going to be on social media, we need the passwords to everything. We can spot check it whenever we ask to do so. That was just part of the deal. And he complied with that pretty regularly. It really was not an issue asking for his phone and letting me scroll through things here and there. And then, of course, we followed him and he had to follow us back. And I followed his friends, or I'd at least check in on what his friends were up to make sure everybody was, that things looked okay. And I mean, I'll tell you, there was a time where they weren't being very nice to each other on Xbox. And I intervened. They were probably about 12 years old, I think, when that happened. But I intervened and I sat them down and we had a conversation with the friend's family and our family. And I mean, they were just talking, the way, I guess, the way boys start to talk to each other on.
You can say it. They were talking trash.
They were way talking trash. And they were really good at it. That made me, I was like, oh, no. So we sat down, we talked about it and what the implications were. And if people hear you talking like that, like what the long-term effects of that were. And they got better. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot I didn't catch at that after a while. But even that, video games had to be in public space at our house because I didn't want Alex isolating in his room. I wanted us to stay in touch with what he was doing.
And when did he start using social media?
Probably I want to say he was about 12 years old, maybe 11, maybe right
And
around.
what apps was he on?
In 5th grade, it would have been Instagram and the start of Snapchat.
Okay. Snapchat and Instagram. And so now you knew at age 12 that Alex was using Instagram and Snapchat. Now, Instagram is something where you can pick up the phone and look and see what they've done. Snapchat is not. Snapchat is a very different app. And if you're unfamiliar with it and you're listening to the show, it's an app where any message you send disappears the moment it's been looked at. Now you can get screen grabs of it, but like that's the only way you're going to find it is if the user has made a screen grab of the message that they received or vice versa. Otherwise, there's no record. And so did you know that that's how Snapchat worked when he was on there and he just started and you were just becoming familiar with the situation?
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that's what went on Snapchat. I thought it was a lot more like Instagram. I mean,
and so what did you see when you went on there?
I didn't really see a lot. I just saw the friends that he was connected to and maybe if they had a new story up, I think it's called on there, or something along those lines, but nothing that seemed out of the ordinary.
Right. And so here's now the trash talking that you were talking about that was happening on the Xbox. Did that happen before he got on Snapchat or after?
That was probably, I'm not sure.
Time?
Maybe around the same time, yeah.
So, because here's the thing is, if someone wants to get into trash talking, Snapchat's the place to do it.
Yes.
You can say anything you want. And like, I didn't say it. How do you know? I said it. You did say it. No, prove it. You can't.
No, you can't. He and his friend did get into, there was a time where he and a friend got into an argument over Snapchat and we had to sort that out. But again, I didn't see anything from that. I just knew what happened and we talked about it and tried to work through that with the friend's family.
Were there times when you found yourself struggling with, should I intervene versus, you know what, let him learn for himself?
There was a lot of times where, as a parent, I think that struggling to intervene is always a constant issue. But there are a lot of times where we would let Alex try to work it out by himself with the knowing that we're there when he needs us. I think that in our family, we gave our kids a lot of freedom, cautious freedom, I guess, if you will, where we were kind of just keeping a watchful eye. I was always Alexander's room mom. I was in the PTA. I was his scout leader up until he went from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts. So we were just always around and always kind of in the know of Alexander's life, but not hovering over him to make sure he was always safe, if you will.
He was open with everything that he was experiencing and experimenting with. There's a certain point where, like, I remember when my children started to experiment and they were getting weed on Snapchat. That's how they would meet dealers. I know that it was rife at the time. I actually asked my daughter just now, who's 23, and I said, is Snapchat a place where you can get drugs? She said, I haven't been on there since high school, but yes, it was a place where you could get drugs.
So we knew early on in life that Alex was probably going to be one of those kiddos that had the experimental phase, right? And that comes from in first grade, that first drug prevention week he experienced in elementary school. He wanted to know more about what it meant to be high and how it would impact his brain and his body. And so there was this curiosity where they were, trying to deter kids. Alex, it made him curious. And so we talked about it. We were really open about it. We talked about the long-term effects and the long-term effects on your brain and your body and why this would actually be a really bad idea. And as he got older, that was a continuing conversation. The Drug Prevention Week rolls around every year. And so it would always open those conversations up again. And as he got older, it became a more and more mature conversation. And so I felt like his curiosity about those things was kind of curbed because he knew it was dangerous. He knew he could get hurt. But at the time, we didn't know about fentanyl. That was not part of the conversation. That was not part of Drug Prevention Week.
In middle school, kids are already experimenting with weed, but and liquor. But it's like a little surprising when you find out it's other things. Having said that, I know when my children were in middle school, there was something called lean, which was cough syrup with codeine, and kids were doing that. And so like there were opiates going around, and I'm sure there was harder stuff. I think I'm Gen X. I don't know what you two. I didn't want to say it without asking, but thank you. We're not used to thinking about that. We're not like, oh, like you're smoking weed. That does not mean like when they told us it was a gateway drug in high school, I was like, ha, please, I'm not going to do heroin.
Right.
Nowadays, it sort of seems like that might be exactly what happens. I mean, you're not thinking that a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Is that, or a
he wasn't even a freshman. He had just finished 8th grade. So there was this funky few days in June of 2020 where things were off with Alex. And I asked him, like, what is going on? Like, are you using something? Like, I want to take you to the doctor. And he's like, no, I was up late, ate something bad that night, was just feeling off. And of course, 14, it's the height of puberty. So I kind of let it go. But then it was about a day and a half later, he came back and said, hey, I got to talk to you guys. And that's when he proceeded to tell us that he had been experimenting with what he thought was oxy and it had a hold on him. He got it from Snapchat. And he didn't know what the problem was. And so we set out to get him help. That following morning, I called a treatment place. They needed to call me back with their recommendations. That night he died. Like death was just not on our radar at all. I think it was probably, my best estimation is it was 10 days from the first pill to the day that he died.
So how did Alex go from curiosity to marijuana to heavier things?
I don't know the for sure's of exactly how it all went down the first time, but my belief from having, what he told us is that the person who sold him weed offered him a pill, and it was just that simple. And Alex, with that curious personality, even though we had talked about these things, one time isn't going to hurt. And so he tried it. And that's where it started.
I mean, did he, he was offered the pill, but did he have any idea what the pill was supposed to do?
So Alex looked up how much oxycodone to take for his weight and his size, because he thought he was taking a legitimate prescription. And so that's how he started. He was thinking he was just going to try it one time, took it based on his weight and size. But of course, knowing what we know now, counterfeit pills don't work that way. And that's how he started. He was trying to approach it and be practical about it and be smart from his perspective. He was being smart about it. But unfortunately, Like that night he told us, the night before he died, it has a hold on me and I don't know why. Because
Well, when he was taking the drug, again, it might be right for his weight and his size, but what was the goal?
Alex just wanted to see what it felt like.
No, so Adam, I can tell you from experience, when someone says we know this kid isn't going to experiment with these things, I was that kid, and that is just a type of person who wants to get out of their body a little bit. And
think about to think about how somebody might tell you about an exciting vacation, right? You're like, ooh, cool, that might be a vacation I'd like to experience.
Exactly.
Like that was Alex, whether it be food, a skateboard trick, you name it. Like that's just that's how he was wired.
So going back to the person who gave him his first pill, was that someone that he met through Snapchat, or was that someone in his social circle?
No, I believe it was this person through Snapchat. Like I believe it was 10 days from Alex's first pill to the day that he died. It all happened really fast.
10 days.
So do we know whether he approached that person or they approached him?
I am not 100% certain on how they got connected on Snapchat, but I know that this person is on Snapchat and is an adult. So it wasn't a peer or somebody that sold it to him. It is a man.
Gosh, and you were not able to track down who it was, obviously.
Oh, I know who it is. Oh, I do. I was able to track down
tell me
who it
about
was.
that.
Oh, sure. So, that night, the night before Alex died, he told us, that he had been experimenting, got it from a dealer on Snapchat, has a hold on him. The next day, we tried to get him into treatment, and they needed to get back to me. And literally that night, he died. So, of course, everything that whole night everything was chaos, right? In our brains and our bodies for a little bit. And about 2 months later, I went out to dinner or out to lunch with a friend of his. And I just asked her on a weird whim, I'm like, hey, do you know where he got it? And she gave me the guy's Snapchat information. And then everything came flooding back to me from that conversation. And I still thought it was a weird one-off thing that it happened via Snapchat, right? That this guy was a Snapchat connection. And so a little bit later, I get an email from a lady on Facebook, a message from a lady on Facebook that says, hey, are you this person? And then she got something to show you. And she sends me pictures of this drug dealer talking about my kid on Snapchat.
Talking about your kid because he passed away or because...
I didn't sell it to him, and then he references somebody else who died 2 weeks prior in his apartment and saying how he didn't sell to him. That guy brought his own drugs to his house. And the lady that had contacted me, her son had died from the Snapchat drug dealer's drugs. So that is, and it was the same person that Alex's friend had given me the month before.
So is this person now under a cement slab in your basement, or what happened?
He is free.
That's crazy.
He is. The cases are all cold cases because, So I took it to the DEA, and, as far as I know, I don't know all the ins and outs of the investigation, but they investigated this guy for several months.
You took it to the DEA or the DA where you live?
DEA.
Drug enforcement, yeah.
And they did investigate. They talked to this other mom. In the meantime, we actually find out that this drug dealer is connected to another death of a friend that I'd made in this process. He sold the drugs. He supplied the drugs to the dealer that killed her son. And so you'd think something would happen, but come June of, I guess it was July of 2022, I learned it was a cold case. They were all cold cases. There was, Snapchat, all the snaps were gone. There was just not enough evidence out there to bring this guy in on these deaths. And, Snap did not reply to subpoenas right away. And it was almost a year before Snap actually replied to anything involving Alexander's case and his account.
Wow.
That's a tragedy. And because it's designed to disappear within 24 hours, it makes...
Yeah, so, nothing's going to be there.
So what did they... So you communicated with Snapchat. What did they tell you?
So that's a fun story there, too. So in the first time I really got to communicate with Snapchat was spring of 2021. There was another father another parent out there who had lost his son, same way basically. And he was of the approach that, well, we need to work with Snapchat. Okay, that seems easy. And I feel like one thing I've learned about myself through all of this, so I was really naive for a while. So we go into this meeting with Snapchat that he's arranged, and we all have 2 minutes to tell our story. And we're not supposed to go off topic. We're not supposed to do anything outside the lines. We're just supposed to strictly tell our story. Well, we all tell our stories, and we're met with, "So sorry for your loss. We had no idea this was such a problem."
Jeez.
And that just was appalling to me, because you can see in 2017 where Snap starts getting warned in the media, hey, you got a drug problem on your platform, and if you don't get a handle on it, it's going to explode. And, here we are, the fallout from that. And they're telling us that, oh, we had no idea. So that's when I decided that was not my path anymore. I was not, playing nice with Snapchat was not going to be a thing for me. And so that's, we had our first rally shortly after that. But the day before the rally, I get a call from this dad saying, hey, Snap wants to talk to you about your son's drug dealer on the platform. They haven't seen anything about it. Meanwhile, they've had like a few subpoenas at this point. And so I did not talk to Snap that day. I'm not stupid. Like, that was, to me, a PR move. Felt to me like that was a PR move. I talked to them the following week. And by then, they had already removed the drug dealer's accounts unbeknownst to me. And they did not tell me that when I talked to them.
It's Wednesday, Adams. I see you're trying to distract yourself from your own banal thoughts. Let me help. Here's a recording thing made of my latest root canal.
Wednesday Season 2 is now playing only on Netflix.
It's back to school season, and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask kindergarten teacher Miss Gibson.
Give me just one Clorox wipe and I'm ready for glitter glue, exploded lunchbox yogurt, peanut butter handprints, runny noses, picking noses, rubbing noses.
Touching noses.
Thank you, Edward. Ooh, nap mats and lockers and tissue boxes. And
Clorox
scissors.
disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe. Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
Amy, it's not as though Snapchat is, getting a vig on drugs sold on their platform. I mean, one would hope, but it is as though they don't care, and that's not something that they choose to police because it's invisible and therefore they don't need to. Now, when you get into that territory, you begin to get into this legislation that I'm sure you know about, KOSA, Kids Online Safety Act, and all the lawmakers who I think you and we all know and have talked to in the past about what can be done. Now, you're an advocate. You are trying to do something. I have a very simple question for you. What can be done, Amy?
Well, oh man, that's a tough question, right? The first thing that can be done is, as parents, and as youth, we need to take back the power from these companies. We've let them into our lives in such a huge way that they have so much power and influence over us. And so we need to start recognizing that and taking control of that as individuals. But we do need the help of our government in this. I think regulation is incredibly important. And we saw this with seatbelts, right, with automobile manufacturing. We saw this with tobacco. It took legislation and also with look at the whole opioid crisis itself. It wasn't until our government got involved, but that government involvement starts with public outcry, right? So we need that critical mass of voices of not just impacted families, but everyone on board in making this happen. And it's a lot. It's a really heavy lift because times have changed a lot since we regulated automobiles and we regulated big tobacco. So it's, and I don't think, personally, I don't believe that illegal activity constitutes free speech because we couldn't do it here in the physical world.
That is the argument that they're trying to use. Now, COSA did pass the Senate 91 to 3, co-authored by Senators Blackburn and Blumenthal. I just saw an op-ed by Senator Blackburn that it's been hung up in the House, we know that, but that they have worked with Elon Musk and some other high-profile social media people and have come up with what they believe is a sufficient edit of the law to reach its goals, while at the same time, not clamping down on these companies that claim that it will be end of the world as they know it.
Well, if you were to ask me, if we were watching the movie about this evil situation, and you told me that the owner of what was formerly known as Twitter was the guy doing the rewrite on the law, the guy who spent millions of dollars to make sure that he had a seat next to the right hand of the father,
$227 million. Yeah,
that guy. I'm just saying, listen, no, I have nothing against you, Elon Musk. Don't come and get me, because I'm just like a dude living in the woods and like I don't really care. You already own the world, so just have fun. I guess it's yours. Do whatever you want. But that's not the guy to rewrite this law. The person to rewrite this law is a parent, or is a group of parents who have a seat at the table I'm fine with Elon Musk being at the table, one voice of many. As I understand it, that's the country we live in, right? E pluribus unum. So like, I'm not hearing democracy here. I'm hearing the swamp.
What Senator Blumenthal said was that they have consulted with the companies as well.
Yeah.
In order to create something that would meet the goals that the parents have, as well as give them some room where they can actually get a compromise agreement to get the legislation passed.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it's outrageous that that it's stalled in the House. It shouldn't have stalled in the House when you have a 91 to 3 vote in the Senate.
It's stalled in the House for a very simple reason, because you just said it. I don't think any of the companies have a seat at the table talking about how they're supposed to be legislated. Sorry, the only reason they're in there is because they're throwing a lot of money at lawmakers. And lawmakers who take that money, they're in the House. They're not in the Senate. They're the penny ante bums who get into the House, because that can be anybody. That literally could be you, me, Travis. It could be Amy. And if we got in there, we'd just be another bum on the bus. And that's the problem. That is the problem. So if you want to talk about how to really do this, you don't invite the bad guys to the table. You don't.
I think it's interesting because, we've got big tech whispering at one side, at the Republicans, at the conservatives, saying, this bill squashes conservative voices. But then we've got them going to the left saying, oh, hey, this is going to reduce resources and free speech for marginalized communities. They're playing both sides here. And I think that the strategy with bringing in Elon Musk is that he is a free speech advocate, if you will. And so if you've got his buy-in, then maybe that paves the way to make it happen, because it is the Republicans that's holding it up in the House. And coincidentally, Johnson just so happens to have a $10 billion meta facility being built in his state. So this is all happening all at the same time. And Johnson is literally the one holding it up right now. We are fighting every single day. We are emailing, calling every single day, telling our legislators to talk to Johnson to get him to come on board. And he's saying, next year.
It doesn't sound like a coincidence if it's the meta thing.
No, there's no coincidence here. And I think the thing that to me is most shocking is this is a man who prides himself, who promotes himself to be the ultimate family values guy, and, having these platforms running amok with children being fed poison, whether it's social media poison, whether it's drug poison, whatever it is, it's doesn't sound like anybody who is concerned about that is very family values oriented.
I don't know. I've seen enough of history to know that there's plenty of people who have the best interests of their country, their country's underlying ideals, etc., who when push comes to shove, are the bad guy in a movie about something horrible that happened. And the fact is, like, yeah, you can hide behind anything and still do the wrong thing. And so, including COSA, which really bums me out, because COSA is supposed to be something that solves problems. And what happens is, through this injection of money, enough lobbyists get in. One lobbyist gets in, right? Through a little tiny crack in the door. And before you know it, the whole thing's ruined.
Yeah, it's again, back to the being naive. Like, I thought when we would go to our government and we're going to talk to our government about these issues, they're going to help us solve these problems, because we're supposed to be a government for the people, by the people. But it has been anything but that in this situation.
Right. And the only answer really is, I hate to say this because I'm not I have no neoliberalist ideals in my whole entire soul, but the idea that actually makes the only thing that's going to solve this problem, the idea that comes back to me again and again, is the solution is going to come from without. The solution is going to come from an Elon Musk-like character who creates a killer app that is not evil. And that is going to be the only way anything changes, is if somebody like Travis creates the killer app and becomes a multi-billionaire, trillionaire, having done the right thing. Because we start marketing trust. We start marketing safety. And that hasn't happened yet, but I think the answer is not going to come from the government. The government doesn't care about trust. Who's the most trustworthy people in the world? I don't know. Ask the people wondering about the drones over New Jersey and New York right now. Nobody trusts the government, so, and they don't feel safe either. So, where is trust and safety going to come from? I actually think it's going to come from the public sector. I think it's going to come from entrepreneurs who figure out that that's something people want.
Well, we need to help them. We need to find that person and elevate them.
It's Travis.
Let's find them.
It's Travis.
All right,
right
Travis.
You've exposed my plans. Thank you.
The fate of the world.
Your not evil plans.
Yes, we have just completed the 5th round of funding for Travis's Stout Company, and it'll be out soon. But there have been many people that have tried.
Yeah.
And
Blue Sky's the latest, right?
Yeah, everyone that tried has crashed and burned, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know where Blue Sky's going to go, or the app We Are 8. That's another one that's out there right now.
Right.
Who knows what the future holds for them? But I think everyone maybe had good intention. No, why am I even saying that? We know that Facebook was used to rape women. We know that Snap was a sexting tool. So I guess those, I can't even say that about those.
No, Snap was like a slightly less evil chat roulette, which was completely evil. Bottom line, we're at the end of our journey with you. It's been horrible. I didn't enjoy a moment of it. I like getting to know you, but I didn't like any of the stuff we talked about, because it's just a quagmire of problems with not a lot of solutions in sight. But you have had a unique experience that I believe, sadly, can help a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And so, sitting where you're sitting today, what's the advice you have for our listeners?
So, if you're a parent of a kid who maybe is just getting started on social media or is wanting to go down that path, if you say yes to that, you have got to create your own accounts. You've got to follow what they follow. They got to follow you back. You have to have access to it. You have to know the passwords, and you have to get them to follow positive content to really try to get into a positive algorithm. And again, spot check it a couple times a week, 5 to 10 minutes, 2 times a week. Go through their algorithm, look at the For You or the recommended content, see what's getting pushed to them. If there's something bad there, it's not that your kid saw it, it's what they're pushing to your kid. And it's a great time to have a conversation about that content and what is really happening, to stay in tune. Now, if the cat's already out of the bag and your kid's been doing on social media for the last couple of years, you're going to have to wedge your way in there. It's going to be hard at first, but it'll be worth it.
Now, I would tend to agree with you. And the truth is that regardless of how wonderful the content that they may have been calling up for themselves, depending upon their friends, And just depending upon their age group, the algorithms are going to go to work and do what they want to do to keep them engaged, or as Congressman Durbin said, engaged, angry, and anxious. So thank you so much, really, for all that you're doing for this.
Thank you.
And, keep it up. And anything we can do to help, we're here to help.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And Amy, you're involved with the Alliance to Counter Crime Online, right?
Yeah, I love Gretchen. Gretchen's fabulous. She's been such a great mentor to me. I met her through we were both quoted in an article together, and so she reached out to me from that article. And I joke that it's her fault that we have a lawsuit, because that dad that chose to work with Snapchat kept telling us, oh, you can't sue Snapchat, you can't sue Snapchat. And I took him at his word, and so I didn't give it much thought. Then I met Gretchen, and she's like, have you thought of suing Snapchat? I was like, well, this dad said you can't sue Snapchat. And she's like, you can sue whoever the F you want. And the clouds parted in that moment. I'm like, we might not be able to sue Snapchat and win, which is probably what this dad means, but we can sue Snapchat and cause some real trouble for them and really build awareness around the fact that we even have this lawsuit and educate other people on the issue. And so that's how Gretchen and that's how our relationship started.
So, Amy, do you feel you guys have been heard?
Depends on the day. Do I feel we've been heard? Oh, man, that's a tough one. We're heard in spurts, right? As long as it's interesting in that moment, like when we have the rallies and things like that, we get attention and we're heard. But then, those things go dormant. When I go and I do a community presentation, I'm heard. I hear from parents afterwards. We talk about these things. I help them work through it with their kiddos. But we still have to overcome that hurdle of stigma. Why didn't you just take the phone away? Oh, my kid's too smart. They'd never do that. There's such heavy stigma on substance misuse. And, those that have kids struggle on social media. So little by little, we're chipping away at it.
Well, great. Again, Amy, thank you so much. And, let the fight continue.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so hi guys. It's time for a tinfoil swan.
Our paranoid takeaway to help keep you safe on and offline.
Okay, so let's talk about recognizing red flags with when it comes to children's social media use. The internet is a great place for people to have fun and be connected, but it can also be very dangerous.
I mean, you have cyberbullying, exposure to harmful content like drugs, suicidal ideation, all the above. Social media amplifies risks that kids just don't really have the landing gear to handle. And that's where we, as parents or caregivers, need to step in.
Yeah, the key is to stay engaged. Pay attention to warning signs, like, is your kid suddenly withdrawn? Are they spending an excessive amount of time on their devices? Or are they deleting messages and apps to keep you from seeing what's happening? Now, these can all be signals that something just isn't right.
Also, watch out for things like changes in sleep patterns, drops in grades, or an avoidance of real-world social interactions. Those shifts can suggest that online interactions that they're having are affecting them offline.
Kids can find content that promotes a lot of things that are not great, like drugs, self-harm, dangerous challenges. It's been known to prod kids into eating disorders. Algorithms have no emotions. They don't care about mental health. They care about engagement. They don't care. They are built to create engagement.
So what can we do? Well, first, set boundaries. Create clear rules about screen time and keep an open dialogue about what apps they're using.
Yeah, and don't just rely on those conversations. Be proactive. Many devices and apps have parental control features that let you monitor activity or block certain types of content. Use them.
Also, foster critical thinking with your children. Teach your kids to question what they're seeing online, whether it's an influencer pushing a lifestyle, or people posting perfect pictures, or strangers messaging them. Help them to understand what's real, what's fake, and what's dangerous.
Finally, know the resources. If you notice signs of distress, there are organizations that can help, whether it's for cyberbullying, mental health, substance abuse. Don't hesitate to reach out to professionals if your child is struggling.
The internet's not going anywhere, so you need to stay engaged and as aware as possible. Understand that kids are navigating a whole new world and you can't be by their side at every moment, so you need to talk to them as much as possible.
And that's our tinfoil swan. What the Hack with Adam Levin is a production of Loud Tree Media. You can find us online at adamlevin.com and on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Adam K. Levin.
Loud Tree. Behind every empire are the people history tried to forget. Lost Roman Heroes tells the stories of the remarkable characters who shaped Rome from its mythical beginnings to its final fall.
Each episode blends armchair storytelling, sharp historical insight, and a bit of humor to bring these lost figures to life. From generals to scientists, from rebels to empresses, from priests to politicians, these lost Roman heroes have one thing in common.
They stood up for civilization when the bad guys threatened, and in doing so, they changed the course of human history. If you're into history that's vivid, surprising, and deeply human, this show's for you.
Behind every great meal is a person with a story to tell. Hear them on Culinary Characters Unlocked, the podcast that reveals the lives behind the food. Hosted by me, David Page, Emmy Award-winning journalist and creator of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, as I talk with everyone from culinary legends to mom-and-pop standouts about the creativity, grit, and passion that shape the food we love. Follow Culinary Characters Unlocked on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.